When one considers the issue carefully, one will come to the conclusion that racism is a very bad, unfounded idea, that it's something that should be rejected. Now, we have to define racism very carefully. Now, racism is the idea that one race is superior to another race based off of inherited traits that are genetic and cannot be modified. Okay, so it would be akin to a person being taken out of their environment and being raised in another environment to be like that particular person. And no matter how you raise that person, no matter what you do to try to help that person be like you, they can never be like you. They are inherently built to be a particular type of way. You can't take a monkey out of the jungle and raise him in a domestic environment as if you raise him a human being and they become a human being. In fact, you can't even have children with a monkey. If you have a monkey and a human being have sex, they can't produce children. There's two different species of creatures on the earth. And if you're a racist, you look at human beings in a similar manner. You literally believe that human beings are different species of creatures on the earth. They don't share the same species. They don't share the same common ancestor. And so white people, black people, Asians are different species. So you would have to believe as a racist that there's no way you can ever have any sort of changes in the races, no matter how you try to modify their environment. And so if you're a racist, you would subscribe to the idea of polygenism. So this is the idea that was very popular in the 19th century. A lot of zoologists believe this, that there are literally different species of human beings on the earth. There's not one species. And so this goes against the biblical narrative of Adam and Eve, right? That there's one common ancestor. And so that's racism, right? That's what we're dealing with. Now, why is racism very, very dangerous? Because one, you would have to believe that since different races are of different species of human beings, that to be a human being isn't universal amongst these races. Only one of these races can truly be human, and the other races are pretty much in the gray area between being fully human and fully animal. They're pretty much in the middle. So at their best state, they can be human, but at their worst state, they're an animal. And so if you're a racist, it would make absolutely no sense to give these other lower races of people human rights. It would make no sense for you to give them civil rights. They're not fully human like you. So you're going to treat them like second class citizens at best. Or otherwise, you can kill them off and do whatever you like to them. And so that's the danger, is that you treat people differently. Now, the logical conclusion of racism at the end of the day, if we're really going to be serious and be honest about it, is that you're going to commit mass genocide against groups of people who are inferior to you. Because think about it, right? If you are a statesman, you want your country to thrive. You want your country to grow. But if your country is populated by lower races of people who are inherently incapable of rising up and doing better for themselves, then you start to wonder, how do we get better as a country if we have these lower races of people who are holding us back? Well, the logical conclusion is to kill them off because, one, they're not human beings. So they don't deserve human rights. They don't deserve the qualities of human treatment that we give to other human beings. And so we kill them off. And once we do, we will be better. What does that sound like? Well, it sounds like Adolf Hitler, because that's essentially what he was trying to do. He wanted to get rid of the races that were inferior to the Aryan race. So when the Aryans have the living space in Europe and beyond Europe, they would be able to populate in such a way where the human creation, where the world as a whole would be so much better off and would go to heights that it never would have foreseen otherwise if it didn't do the actions of killing off these lower races of people. And so Hitler was truly a racist. He was truly a racist. And so racism is very dangerous because it leads to that conclusion. And so what I say is that when you really think about it very, very hard, we are all a part of a common ancestry. The evidence is overwhelming. Our human genome, human beings share about 99.9% similarity in DNA structure. So that means that the 0.01% is just the minor differences that we have in terms of our phenotypical traits, diseases that we might inherit from our parents. But that doesn't distinguish us as being a different species. It's just varieties that each person might have, but that doesn't make them a different species of human beings, right? So we can obviously see that the DNA is there, the scientific evidence is there, and the idea of racism is unfounded. And so anyone who's a racist, truly a racist, is really harboring an idea that has no foundation at all in science and logic and reasoning, and they're very, very ignorant. And we have to come together as a world, really, to educate one another and say, no, racism is a very, very bad idea. It doesn't make any sense. It leads to disaster. It leads to vast amounts of problems, and we would be much better off without it. I think if we do that, we'd be much better off, but it's up to us.